All right, so let me just say, I'm Moses. I'm a developer evangelist from Amazon.
I'm Mike. I work at Klarna. I'm a principal engineer, and I'm sort of the de facto architect of our mobile applications. But really, there's a huge group of people working on that.
In your role, can you tell us a little bit about your development process? Just like give us like a basic overview of like what you're working on, the app, the APIs, anything like that.
All right, so I can tell you that in our world, we have this structure of we have various teams working on the app. We've got like a core group of teams that is maintaining a API surface and ensuring that we're up to date on iOS versions and some base level things. And then we have the feature teams that are building on top of that. And what is kind of unique about our world, or maybe not so unique, but it's something that we strive towards at least, is to have everything built from the same code base. So we have our iOS and Android apps, but we also have our web app, our browser extension, and various other web entry points. Mm-hmm. They're all built from the same code base. So we're sort of trying to create a universal way of writing apps internally. And as far as React Native goes, though, which is sort of our base.
Yeah, you said the magic word, universal apps. So.
There we go. And so the thing with React Native is we are releasing iOS and Android. We're building those every week. We have a new release, new native release. But generally speaking, we release the app weekly. And every release goes through fairly rigorous RC phases, release candidate, where every team has to test and sign off, and we verify that everything works. So there's a bit of manual QA there. But we've also got systems built on top of that. If you're familiar with Maestro, it's a sort of a tool to describe how you would like to test, do integration tests. Mm-hmm. So you'll say, in a YAML file, you'll say, go to this screen, click on this button, wait until this appears. Mm-hmm. And it will be able to drive this. The great thing with that is actually you can use it on sort of any app, I think. So it even works outside of the context of your app, which allows you to then test flows that open other apps and come back to yours, for instance. So we have our own tool that is very similar to this, and teams can use this internally. But then on top of that, of course, we have a whole range of unit tests, React testing library tests, visual tests, integration tests, snapshot testing, all sorts of things on top of that to just ensure that what we put out there is as good as can be.
So if you're keeping up that weekly pace, like how do you make sure every release meets that bar?
It's an ongoing fight and effort. We have some heroic people working on that, and of course, like you're only as good as the people working on these problems together. So that's like from our feature teams to our core teams, everyone is aligned on, okay, we need to keep this pace. There are obviously times when that is not possible for whatever reason. Maybe something has fundamentally broken in some way, and you need to fix that. And we sometimes have to cancel releases, but for the most part, I think we hit it. Like I think everyone's used to it now, so it's a bit of a culture of just everyone knows weekly releases. Today's the day to do RC testing. If that's not done today, like it can risk the release, and so there's a bit of like accountability within the organization as well. But like how do we ensure that everybody is on board with this and pushing it?
I understand you're using Storybook in your process. Can you talk a little about that? We
enable feature teams to work with Storybook to just test the screens and components within their feature, and of course more widely as well across the whole app. We also use Storybook as a visual testing sort of framework, where we have visual tests that are built on top of that. So that means that we'll build a Storybook version of our app, web and for native, and then we will have our own screenshotters and stuff running on top of that. So that allows us to then compare for every commit, is there any discrepancy in the screenshots that we're receiving? That's one of the ways that we can catch some pretty big errors. But now, of course, using this methodology, you can never get away from flake. and that's just a killer for productivity. So we have various strategies internally about how we try to combat flake, and there's lots of ideas on how we can make it better, but it's something to be aware of. You know, if you're doing any kind of testing with visual tests, flake is a killer at scale.
I think you can tell the theme of the conference is, and maybe just the theme of the tech world these days, is generative AI. How are you using it?
So I can tell you that Klarna is very pro AI. We're putting, sort of jumping headfirst into it, and this is not only within the app; it's within the whole company. Everyone is encouraged and sort of like given guidelines on like, hey, you could use it this way, you could use it that way. People are constantly saying, hey, this is something that I've just done with AI. You know, I've POC'd this. Maybe this new feature or this mock-up of how we could do things. And even internally, you know, we use a lot of AI to even just ask questions of, hey, how do I do this in the company because it's a big company, you know, there's various steps that you have to follow. And sometimes it's easier to find that thing if you just ask AI, hey, I want to create a new service, how do I do that? You know? So we have that. But how I personally feel about it, I think AI is a fantastic tool to, in particular, for boilerplating, POC, and idea generation. I think those are like the key benefits that I see. I'm a little bit more conservative on using it for broader, large-scale development. I think that it's at least to trust whatever comes out of it as flawless, let's say. I think we're at the point now where you still need an expert to have a look at it.
Sure.
To make sure, hey, maybe it is working, but maybe it's doing something in a bad way or in a way that breaks the conventions of your app or something. And I know there are ways to combat this, but I don't think we're quite at the fully automated stage. And internally at Klarna, we try to use it as much as possible. You know, everybody has access to Cursor, for instance. So making any sort of change, you're encouraged. You just use Cursor. Let's see how we can make everything within our app better. Like you can provide rules and prompt injection things for the AI tools. So yeah, there's like a constant work on this.
And you're using it in your testing and QA process in addition to the development?
It's a good question. No, actually, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see a future where you would be doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it would be really good to have it, you sort of give it a script and say, like, this is how someone should use the app, or this is how this is the happy flow, try and break it, you know, and it can click around and try and break the app and report problems. I think that would be really, really useful. You know, almost like what do they call it, monkey testing or something like that, yeah?
Sure. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to meet you.
You too.